Star Wars Outlaws gameplay completely stole the show for me out of every showcase that took place during Summer Game Fest, going all the way back to the PlayStation Showcase, all the way to basically the very end with Ubisoft Forward and Capcom sort of capping off all of the events. I think that the Star Wars Outlaws gameplay is the winner. It is the winner for Summer Game Fest, at least for me. Admittedly, I am a huge Star Wars fan, but I thought the announcement during the Xbox Showcase was just a very nice win for Microsoft, but the gameplay really delivered. It is currently the most watched trailer from the Xbox Showcase. Not surprising, it is Star Wars. Has a bit of an advantage with that brand and that reach, but the promised gameplay during the Ubisoft Forward delivered something special and far bigger and better than anything that I expected. I want to do a breakdown of the gameplay. I want to talk about, is there live service potential here? There is some dialogue about the game that may leave room for something ongoing. I'm not talking about multiplayer. Let me expound on that. I put all of the good information right here at the beginning of the video so you don't have to go looking for it. It's a live stream, but I kick off the stream with a monologue with all the goods, and then I discuss it with the audience. After covering 7 showcases and seeing over 200 trailers, announcements, and gameplay showcases, Star Wars Outlaws is the clear winner from Summer Game Fest 2023, at least in my book. A game that was rumored to be closer than expected sent a loud and clear message. The game is good, the game is big, and it's coming in 2024. Published by Ubisoft and developed by Massive, the team behind The Division, I don't think anybody expected this huge surprise. The cinematic trailer dropped during the Xbox Games Showcase and promised gameplay during Ubisoft Forward 2023, and the gameplay delivered on every front. Sadly, the Ubi Forward stream had a terrible bitrate, so the gameplay for all of the games looked very rough and almost blurry, but the 4K trailer looks truly next gen, and the performance is 60 FPS. It's very obviously 60 FPS. Now first, I want to break down the gameplay into 10 categories. There's actually 10, I think, noticeable things inside this gameplay showcase. And then the second question I want to entertain is, what about the live service question? This is Massive. This is the team behind Division. So this could have potential ongoing support. The creative director had some comments, I think, that could be clues about future plans for this game. This definitely could be something that they could add on to long term. Many will shoot this down, okay? But I'm not talking about online. I'm not talking about online live service. I'm not talking about multiplayer. The potential for ongoing support content, something episodic, something ongoing, I think there is potential for that. And the reason I think there's potential for that is combined with who made the game, okay? There is the the company that makes the game. That is certainly part of the equation here for me, but there's also the idea that you've got something special and something large. If we look at all of the commentary leading up to this game, being announced, it's very clear that they're building a massive game, no pun intended, since Massive is the team behind the game. So first, I want to talk about gameplay, okay? To state again, just so we're clear, okay, you need to watch the 4K trailer. You need to set it to 4K. You need to watch this thing as many times as you can to look and comb over all of the details, because if you don't actually look at that, you're going to miss out, I think, on some of the things that people didn't see when they were watching during the actual showcase for Ubi Forward. You might not pick up on all the little details. Now, there's lots of gameplay details that I want to come over with you that you may have missed because it is a rather lengthy gameplay showcase. They show us tons of different things, tons of different elements of the game throughout, and it's very cinematically driven. They have these 2 top bars, one across the top and one across the bottom, because they really pushed the resolution as high as it could go, all right? Again, the Ubisoft Forward stream was a terrible, I think, example of what these games look like. And I think that's just a lesson for these showcases, right? It's a live environment. You got to have your bitrate set higher than 4K or whatever. So first, stealth, okay? Within the stealth mechanics of this game, you can see a variety of options with respect to navigating, getting around, and staying hidden. This is tied to the second thing that I noticed. There are cover-based mechanics in this game, and you can see right there, they go right from a cinematic that is in the engine of the game to suddenly being inside of the actual game. It was seamless the way that they did that. And the cover-based mechanics give you the ability to use your little person with you. Now, you have the ability to attack, you can distract, or you can interact, all right? The minimal HUD, I think, is nice. I think it's a nice change of pace from things that we've seen in other games that enter this genre. They sort of overwhelm you with things on the HUD. And even right here, you can see some influence, maybe a teeny bit of the Division bleeding through with those little pathways and things that you can decide to do while in cover. And I think this shows off the option to completely avoid combat if you want by using your surroundings. Then, in a moment, you'll see some shooting. Now, there's 3 types of shooting options that we see confirmed in this trailer. There is stun, there is focused, and there is blaster. Now, she switches off blaster and she switches to focus, and you'll see that it sends out a shock of some kind that disables the enemy's shield. This leads to another potential element of gameplay and combat, not really anything confirmed, but we do see like a melee combat finisher of sorts, and I don't know if that's going to be an indication that there will be melee combat, or if that is just somehow kind of a thing that you do once an enemy is very low. Maybe you can charge them and punch them. Given that we have Jedi Survivor, it might be good to have a game that is completely sort of devoid or not having any melee combat in it, so, you know, that would make it pretty much stand apart. And then you get some of the blaster gameplay here as you're watching over my shoulder. After this, you're going to get to see some open world gameplay, and this is when the game's performance, I think, is put on full display. The smooth frame rate indoors was immediately noticeable after watching the low-quality Ubisoft stream. But once in the open world, the environments are lush, full of bright colors, and it looks truly next gen. I think that's something that you really have to pay attention to in this game, because during the stream it looked awful, and then when you look at the 4K, it's like it's so obviously 60 FPS. Huge debate, you know, going on right now with Starfield and that big debate about 60 versus 30. We had that same debate with Redfall. We had that same debate with Gotham Knights. So it's great to see a game with next-gen graphics, large open areas, hitting clear and very, very crisp 60 FPS, right? I know games are different. I'm not trying to compare this to other games and say, man, look at what this game can do. Why can't your game do it? I know that's a little bit foolish, but it's hard to look at a game this large and how fast it's moving and at 60 and then go to a game that's not doing that. That's really hard to do as a gamer. It makes it hard to go back to 30 FPS games. I loved Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and just playing a couple of games at 60 FPS made it hard to go back to Zelda, right? At first I wasn't bothered by it, and then it got worse. Now, during this, you just saw some vehicular combat. I love their interpretation of speeder combat, like fighting while you're on a speeder, some of the slowdown there. Again, you'll notice these areas are lush. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of movement. It seems to be almost alive. It seems like there's, you know, moving parts. There's animals. There's other people on speeders. There's a lot of density, not just in the plant life and not just in the differences in the biomes. Now, if you're seeing little micro hitches and things like that, that sometimes can be OBS or Chrome. I've watched this on my phone. Those hitches are not there. You got to be careful with YouTube and Chrome and Capture. That's not in the game. I double and triple checked, okay? That's not something that's actually baked into the trailer. Sometimes even my OBS can hitch with the capture card, little micro hitches that you might be seeing. I really thought this game had its own feel up to this point, right? I thought the sequence combined blaster combat from, you know, the earlier in the showcase. I think it's notable that while she's on the speeder and doing the blaster combat, the sound design's incredible. It really shows how next-gen the game is, but I want to freeze it here because I want to catch up with myself here. There's a massive amount of area covered before she gets here with zero load times, zero hitches, right? She gets all the way here. I didn't see a single loading screen. I didn't see a single transition that they hid. There are some loading screens that they very carefully hide in a moment, but that area that she covered was enormous. Keep that in mind with the commentary later about what this game could be. I don't necessarily think this is a one-off, one-time story game, and some of the things we've even seen in the trailer may point to that. Now, once the character gets to the cantina, as you can see here, meeting up with her partner, I actually think the way that this was originally framed, like when she walks up and the way he's standing there, the way that it's lit, the way that they're framing this in a very cinematic way, it really gives me sort of a TV show, almost Andor feel. There were elements of Andor that were lit similarly to this in the first episode. And that just gives it, I think, a very, very nice vibe. And it's got that gritty Star Wars feel. You can see blast marks and worn marks on this droid here. You can see that the place is kind of disheveled. That's something that I've always loved about Jedi Fallen Order, is they did a really great job of making it feel like the Star Wars universe. I feel the way they framed the dialogue, the lighting, and even the characters and what they look like really shows that this game has great character-driven story. It actually probably has the potential for a very long story since it's focusing on characters so quickly in this showcase. Right here, I think you get a great sample of story, characters, as well as dialogue choices. Remember the dialogue choice for later, that does come in with some of the leaks about this game. I thought this entire sequence was excellent. Again, this is all in the game. That's the character. That's exactly what she looks like when she's playing the game. This isn't some over-rendered cinematic thing. That's exactly what her and her little fuzzy guy look like when you're in the game and running around. Character design, facial and emotion capture, as well as the inclusion of the Empire, I think is a great touch. At this point, if they would have stopped right here, I would have been sold, okay? If they would have stopped at this point, where you have this tense moment, then there's a dialogue choice, and then you have to scramble and run away, I'd have been like, let me buy this game, book it, I want to play it. But then they cranked things all the way up to 11. This isn't just going to be a game where you run around like in Jedi Survivor and then have like cutscenes for your ship. This is when the game gets, I think, taken to an entirely new height, no pun intended. There is space combat and there is space travel, and it's seamless in quotations. It's seamless in quotations. Now look, they're using fog as a transitional period here to go from planet to outer space. They're kind of hiding a load screen, and I am totally fine with that. I think that's a super creative way to give you what feels like a very seamless moment-to-moment experience where you're on the ground and now you're in outer space. Now I want you to take note of the font choice, the heads-up display, just the general aesthetic and vibe of this game. It is very 80s infused. Even the main character has kind of a Joan Jett vibe with their kind of bangs and her shorter hair and her jacket. This game has a really, really cool 80s vibe. It kind of reminds me of Haley Steinfeld a little bit in the Bumblebee movie. It just has a cool feel to it. But then the space combat's actually quite good. I'm not even somebody who typically enjoys space combat, but again, sound design is a huge factor here. The blaster sounds, the TIE fighter sounds, it sounds like Star Wars. It feels like Star Wars. And while the ship might look a teeny bit maybe generic, I actually like that it's got its own look and feel as compared to other things that we've seen. But we're not just dealing with space combat. Again, they took this game all the way to level 11. We have hyperspace travel. They make the jump to light speed. Again, this is incredibly smooth. This is seamless. And they are clearly hiding a loading screen, and I don't care. It looks just like the movies. It has an amazing feel, and here again, the amazing vibe of the game. The broker, quest completed, pops up. Their choice of art style, font, it just has just a great feel. I'm so geeking out about this game as a Star Wars fan. I just cannot wait to play this, and you get a nice montage here at the end of all the various places that you can go. Now, we're going to have to turn to the live service question because there have been some comments about the game's seamless universe and even comments from the creative director about characters and stories that actually has me curious about what they could potentially do with this game. I think they could do something ongoing. Keep in mind, the industry is moving to live service. They like to have ongoing monetization. Enjoy this montage. It's one of the cooler parts of the trailer, I think. Everybody wants to push in a live service. They want to have that ongoing monetization. They want to have that way of keeping the money flowing. And putting Massive, the team behind Division 1 and 2, on a huge open-world Star Wars game and just letting it sit after its launch, being like, yep, that's it. We put all that work into the game, we put all that work into the universe, and that's it. It's a one-time story. I have a very, very hard time believing that that is the plan for this game. Again, to restate, I am not talking about online. I'm not talking about multiplayer. Live service could simply be ongoing support. It's also also hard not to consider that Star Wars Jedi Survivor is singular, and this is Star Wars Outlaws. It's plural. Now, that could refer to the main character, Kay Vess. It could refer to Kay and her sidekick. It could also refer to all of the people that you meet along the way, all the outlaws, right? It could also leave room for new stories, new outlaws, maybe something episodic, some type of game or universe. It kind of keeps on going where you're adding new people that you can play as. And that's where we need to look at commentary on the universe that they built in this game. According to Insider Gaming, whenever this broke in January, we were starting to get news about this game. This is what they said. From what we already know, the Ubisoft Star Wars game will boast a fully open, seamless universe akin to what is found in No Man's Sky. Now, that doesn't sound like the kind of game that you would build for one story. Why would you build a fully open, seamless universe that's akin to No Man's Sky and say, oh yeah, hey, it's just one story. Yeah, you play it once and then that's the end of it. The trailer practically confirmed what Insider Gaming said with the footage of going to space, getting in a dogfight, and then making the jump to light speed. Now, more, according to Insider Gaming. In the game, players will be able to jump between systems, immersing themselves in a vast galaxy, bursting at the seams with activities. The activities, like who describes a game with a story as one full of activities, right? Again, this doesn't sound like the foundation for a linear one-time story experience. Even the sentence from Insider Gaming, the following sentence I'm about to read, sounds like a blend of story with a ton of freedom. At the heart of the game sits an in-depth, lengthy story driven by a fully customizable character that walks a path chosen by the gamer themselves. This, again, I think just seemingly was confirmed by the trailer. You get to choose your own path in this game. At least it seemed that way, right? You could bribe the woman from the Empire, or you could not bribe, and she chooses not to bribe in this trailer, and it causes all kind of chaos. Now, in a VGC article, the game is apparently targeting a March launch. Much like Jedi Survivor, they are probably trying to hit that cadence that Disney wants. Disney wants a new Star Wars game every 6 months. Now, that makes me concerned about quality, but Julian Garrity, the creative director, had the following to say in the Video Games Chronicle article. This is actually an older quote, but it was in this VGC article. Quote, "First, we want to make a unique game in the saga with a captivating story and set of characters that players can relate to and connect with. We want to make what is familiar and resonant about Star Wars and tell the stories of new characters who have their own motivations and stakes." Now, he's saying they want to tell the stories, plural, of new characters, plural, about their motivations and their stakes, okay? According to Insider Gaming, quote, "There are bold promises of this being a groundbreaking game." They're really setting their sights on something big here, okay? The thing to take note from the creative director is he doesn't say they want to tell a great story. I've read press coverage of single-player games time and time again. They commonly talk about, this is just going to be a really great story. We can't wait to tell this story. This is our own story. This is our own version or whatever. That's not what he said. He talks about they want to tell stories of new characters that have their different motivations and their different stakes. Now, again, he could be just doing boilerplate PR speak. He could be talking about all the characters that are in the game that you're going to run into, right? It's obviously going to be a massive game, but typically single-player games focus on story, singular. He also says that the new characters will have their own motivations and their own stakes. Again, this could be NPCs along the way, but typically I take more interest in a main character's motivations and stakes because I'm playing as them. That's how you sort of get immersed into the game, when you sympathize and empathize with the main character. So to be clear, I'm not pulling for this game to be live service. It certainly seems possible, though, given everything we've seen and heard. At the end of the day, it looks like we are set to get another great game in the Star Wars universe. Let's just hope it doesn't fall under the low-quality curse that Disney continues to plague so much of their Star Wars property with. The TV shows have been either great, like Andor, or bad, like Obi-Wan. Jedi Survivor seems like a fantastic game, but it still has screen tearing and frame issues. And before you tell me it's all been fixed on PC, that's just a console problem, do a little research. It's currently sitting at 68% in the last 30 days on Steam. That's the most recent batch of reviews within the last month. That game's been out for a while, and over the last 30 days, it's getting a 68% on Steam. That's terrible for a game of that size from a studio with good history and Jedi Fallen Order behind it. I blame Disney for that. It's very clear they pushed for a cadence of games that's not lining up with quality, and I really hope that doesn't happen with with Star Wars Outlaws. Given the scope and the potential of Star Wars Outlaws, I truly hope that this game doesn't suffer the same fate. So let me give you my thoughts and my conclusions. The gameplay in Star Wars Outlaws completely stole Summer Game Fest for me. I actually am more excited about this than I am about Spider-Man 2. Yes, I'm being dead serious. Spider-Man 2 is very, very high on my list. Now, some of this is unfair. I'm a bigger Star Wars fan than a Spider-Man fan. And it also has an unfair advantage because Star Wars Outlaws is a brand new IP and Spider-Man 2 is a sequel. But from the PlayStation Showcase all the way to the end with Ubisoft and Capcom, Star Wars Outlaws is my clear winner. I know some will claim that this is recency bias, but it's, because it's literally the last gameplay reveal that we saw. There was some things in Capcom, but this was basically the last big gameplay reveal that we saw. I honestly think this would be at the top of my list no matter where it landed in Summer Game Fest. The gameplay of Star Wars Outlaws and the scope of what they've built certainly seems bigger than just a one-time story game. I actually would love to see some new breeds of live service games emerge. The, quote, forever games that rely on a player base are fraught with problems. They're fraught with challenges, as seen by the potential cancellation of The Last of Us Factions 2. But games like Outlaws could carve a new path. The single-player, long-tail RPG, almost like an MMO, but without all the other people and without the need to be online. So here's my conclusion. While we wait for more details on Star Wars Outlaws, I will have to hope for a Jedi Survivor patch so I can spend some time in the Star Wars universe. I may be 3 hours into that game and I just can't continue due to the poor quality. I truly hope Disney does not continue this trend of forcing games within a cadence that hurts quality. Jedi Survivor got good reviews for a reason. There's a great game underneath all the problems. And the same looks to be true for Star Wars Outlaws. It looks like we're staring at a great game. For now, we wait. And unlike the galaxy that this game's going to take place in, it doesn't seem that far away. And that's the show open. I hope you guys enjoyed this game. A little bit of a self-indulgent stream today. This was my winner from Summer Game Fest. Obviously, you guys can tell me what you thought your winners were. Thank you, Everest, for a 10 spot. Sorry if this is a tangent, Lono. Is Starfield capped at 30 FPS 4K or 30 FPS 1080? It's 4K 30 from what Todd Howard said. 4K 30 on the X, and then frickin' whatever it's called, 30, 1440. It'll be 1440 30 on the S. So that's not the discussion today, but thank you for the tip. To be honest, I haven't played Survivor because of the reviews. I'm not a huge fan of the genre either. Outlaws is more my preference. The Ubisoft downgrade happened how many times or how many long ago? I mean, it happened with Division 1 and it happened with Watch Dogs. I don't feel like it happened with any of their recent titles, though. I remember people picking apart Far Cry 6 trailers and saying that it didn't look very good. I thought that game looked fine from moment one and people picked it apart. Raptor with the first gifted member of the day coming in. Yesterday we hit 28. That's the first member. Let's get the coffee orders going as well. You guys can always support all the things we do. I am currently wearing another shirt from Into the AM. If you like the shirts that I wear from Into the AM, always use my code. They're having a huge sale right now on their best sellers. My code stacks on top of that sale. So use code Lono, or you can go to intotheam.com/Lono. You realize Ubisoft is making this game, right? You realize Ubisoft is a publisher, right? Massive is making the game. Massive is making the game. Now, Massive has made Division 1 and Division 2. Both of those games, in my estimation, had really, really good core concepts. And the Division 2 was supposed to EOL in 2020, and there was so much support for it that they've continued to support it, and they just outlined Year 5, and Year 6 is on the way. Here we go. Another gifted member from DK Baker taking us to 2 on the day. Toshibo gifts a member. It's a single member gifted train. Takes us to 3 on the day. Everybody's gifting members right now. Thank you guys so much for doing that. I mean, I get it. Yo, Raptor gifts another one and takes us to 4. I get it. If you look back historically, you might think that, like, oh my gosh, this is going to be terrible, but Outlaws is in the newest version of Snowdrop. It's actually in a newer version of Snowdrop than even the one that you're seeing in Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. So, Co-Creators has very comfortable shirts. Their shirts are very comfortable, and their prices are very reasonable. We're still trying to figure out what's going on with Ripped Apparel. I've got everything set up with them, but I'm still waiting on them to get back to me with my code. So we've got the shirts, and we're ready to go. They sent everything to me, but right now we're currently doing something with Into the AM. Massive, it's hard carrying Ubisoft right now. Yo, what's good? Kicking in with Timmy B. East Coast Overlord says, I'm going to jump on this gifted member train. He may set up a layup. I don't know. Sometimes the big boys like to do a 20 bomb when we're right there. No, Raptor does it! Wow! Raptor! As it's coming out of my mouth, I'm literally saying that might be the layup, and there it is, starting the day strong with a 20 gifted member bomb. Thank you so much, Raptor. We've already hit the goal. I'll do my 5 in a moment. I've been doing my 5s right away. DK Bager says we are not going to sit on that 25. Agent of Chaos, he comes in and pushes us to 26 out of 50. Thank you so much. Is this game going to be co-op? No, this is a single-player game, Sandra. This is a single-player game. The way it's been described by Insider Gaming, the way that it's been described by the creative director themselves, I honestly feel like they're going to do something ongoing with this game. I don't think they're going to do like multiplayer online, not that. Like, when people hear live service, that's what they think of. I think this thing could be going for years. They could just keep adding Outlaws, keep adding stories. Imagine that imagine that she's just the first Outlaw that you get to play as. She's just the first one. You get to play as all these different Outlaws. It's called Star Wars Outlaws, and they made a massive, seamless universe described as being akin to No Man's Sky. Now, why would you build a game that big to tell one story? Right? Big pause. Big pause. What are you guys saying big pause about? I'm actually excited for this game. Hope Massive has it balanced. We saw balancing in Div 2. Well, balancing issues in Div 2 was because it was a live service game. You're playing against other people. I'm not worried about that in this game. Clockwork looked incredible. Sony needs to have a studio to make these kinds of games, real RPGs. What do you mean real RPGs? Don't come in and do that today. Take a walk. Take the day off if you're going to come in and do that. We're not talking about that. We're talking about this game, right? I don't need your stupid, intellectually bankrupt anti-Sony smear. I'm so tired of it. Go somewhere else if that's what you're going to do today. We're 28 minutes into the stream and you guys can't freaking help yourselves. Like, go somewhere else with your stupid console tribalism. Coming out your mouth, pause. Huh? Oh, as it's coming out of my mouth. That's what you were saying, pause too? All those Xbox games. Oh my gosh. See, you guys can't help yourselves. Just stop. PlayStation has tons of RPGs. Division 2 balance is about PvP. Yeah, I mean, Division 2 balance, I don't think has me concerned at all about balancing issues in Star Wars Outlaws. I really, really liked their interpretation of fighting on a speeder. Like, how do you fight on a speeder, right? It's all so incredibly fast, but I think they do a good job here of capturing the speed of being on something like this. Like, look how fast she can go. She can do little speed ups, right? But then also, if you want to fight, she gets to slow things down. I think that's an excellent way to sort of interpret. Now, it makes me wonder, is she force sensitive? Because she just slowed time down. Obviously, that was probably just more video gamification, right? I don't necessarily think we're supposed to be digging into this and thinking like, oh yes, this is definitely going to be a game where she's secretly force sensitive. I don't think she is. I'm being goofy, but just the sheer scope of some of these areas, like look how far she's already traveled and look how far she could travel if she wanted to. Just a massive, massive area, right? Massive game. It's enormous. No loading screens at all. They've pulled off something really, really special with Snowdrop. And if you think about it, they've kind of done that in The Division. The Division made really, really enormous areas, and there's no load times. There's no load screens at all. There aren't. It's just you go from one side to the other. Now, when you go in and out of certain areas, they might make your character walk a little bit slower, so they're like hiding the loading screen a little bit. Let's see here. Ubi is the clear winner by far, says Suede. Outlaws looks awesome, but Assassin's Creed and Prince of Persia are right there too. Just trying to keep my hype levels in check and hoping they don't pull another Watch Dogs and Outlaws. Pull another Watch Dogs with Outlaws. Kyle Katarn, is that how you say his name? He's in the trailer. We're getting some Jedi storyline. Well, just so we're clear, I didn't say this in the show open. This takes place during The Empire Strikes Back and Jedi. So there's definitely going to be Jedi around. There's going to be stuff going on with, between Empire and Jedi, there's got to be Jedi in hiding, right? Yo, good morning, Diaz. Hey, Lono, hang on. Games for Eternity hits a month of membership. Lono, this showcase of Star Wars was fantastic. It seems like it's what Beyond Good and Evil 2 was or is supposed to be. It might... I don't know. It might be. Maybe this is going to influence that one. Kyle Katarn. Yeah, let me pull up the other one. I had to pull open the trailer in my show open. I was kind of distracted. I hate when I do that. I forgot. I've not been running trailers recently throughout my gameplay, and because of that, I've had to I'm not in the habit of doing it. I'm like, oh no, I don't have the trailer pulled up. Okay, so in this trailer, this is the initial cinematic trailer for this game. So it's very clear what's going on. It's very clear. There's Han Solo. I mean, we've got Star Destroyers. We have Stormtroopers. This is in between Empire, and Han Solo is frozen in carbonite. So he's basically going to Jabba right here. You got the two guards behind Jabba. Jabba's on his little thing, and that's somebody else. That might be Lando's co-pilot. That, I don't know. That could be Lando's co-pilot. He's wearing the hat and everything. Isn't that what he's wearing in Empire Strikes Back? Because we see him in Jedi. We see him in Jedi, so he's alive in Jedi. There's main character Kay Vess. All right. She's obviously a scoundrel. Right, see her playing cards. I think isn't that the card game they were playing in Solo? I think that was the card game they were playing in Solo. And in this trailer is a guy that looks like Kyle Katarn, or however you're supposed to say his name. I'm probably not saying his name right. Now, they released this trailer first. And said, see gameplay at Ubi Forward. So this is obviously fully cinematic. It's like a dadgum movie. It looks like real people. I kind of want a TV show now. This would make a great TV show. Yes, this is a single-player game. Single-player open-world game. Apparently the universe is massive and seamless. I like so much about this too. Like, people were getting irritated about the lead character being a girl. Like, I think her vibe is awesome. Like, she's got like an 80s Joan Jett vibe. There you go. People are claiming that right there, they're claiming this man here that you're going to interact with It's the same dadgum shirt. I don't know how you don't. I don't know how that's not him. There's no way that that's not him. I'm not even a fan. I don't even know the significance of him. I'll give you a side-by-side in a second. He's wearing the same dadgum shirt. Let me show you. Because I'm not big into like the extra Star Wars lore, like the extra stuff, the non-movie stuff. I grew up on the movies. But it's the same guy. It's the same style shirt and everything. I mean, he's got pockets. This one doesn't have pockets. But very, very similar. You're saying, nope, that ain't Kyle? I don't know. I don't know how that's not him. You don't think that's him? All right, okay, all right. Well, let's watch the rest of the cinematic trailer. Man, she's sneaking around. Is she in Bespin? Did she go to Bespin right there? Right here, where she's sneaking through these hallways. This feels like Bespin, like when Luke was sneaking around. His name's Kyle. It's always weird when you play games like this and they have like just like a normal name. Like, this is Ted the Jedi. I love it. I love the whole vibe. The whole vibe. I don't know who this is. I guess he's the big bad. We got bounty hunters, it looks like. Scoundrels. Just everything that I want in a Star Wars game. Space combat, space travel, blasters. Looks like Timothy Oliphant. Yeah, I mean, all I'll say is, I don't care who it is. I'm excited. Oh, hang on. Somebody gifted a member. Jordan Hederman with the white badge. A brand new member pays it forward and gifts a member to somebody else. If you guys got a gifted member today, you can pay it forward. You can gift one member at a time. See him here in the mobile game. I mean, guys, come on. Y'all are kidding yourselves here. This is the same guy. Well, they gave him the exact same shirt in that. I don't know. The pants and the it's the same outfit. It's the light shirt. Hang on. This is him in the mobile game. That's him in the mobile game right there. And then there he is right there. There he is, cartoon form. Now they clearly matched his shirt. His shirt down here in the bottom frame is clearly matched right here. The drawstrings, the separate pattern. I don't know. Joker coming in, gifts a membership to Diaz, and Def Driver gifts a membership. Look at that, dude. Single gifted member train today. Keep it going. Brooklyn Breed says we will find out. Yeah, we'll find out. We'll find out soon enough. We'll know whether or not this game's going to be going to have him in it. If anything, I think it's cool. This might be one of the first times they're just like openly framing things. They're openly framing things within the movie canon. Like, if you go read the official descriptions of this game, it straight up says this takes place in between Empire and Return of the Jedi. Like, they straight up put that in the description of the game. That's pretty awesome. The fact that they're like, oh no, yeah, this takes place right within the timeline. He's also in Jedi Outcast and Academy. That's freaking Kyle Katarn and Outlaws, I'm calling it. I mean, hey, I give anybody props for calling that and spotting that. It's really hard to ignore how much he looks like the dude that you guys are coming in and saying, right? Really, really hard not to see it that way. He looks just like him. I think we'll find out when the game is released. Sure. Raptor, thanks for the gift. The shirt, the single shoulder pad. Yeah, the shirt matches. The single shoulder pad. Come on now. I don't care about this game right now. In a universe full of literal space magic and laser swords, you know what I want to be? A basic chick with a gun. Do you know what I want to be in the gaming world? Not you. That's what I want to be. Not you. I don't know how you can watch a trailer like that. You have 2 games right now where you can play as a Jedi. You got Jedi Fallen Order and you got Jedi Survivor. Being able to play as a bounty hunter, being able to play as a scavenger, scumlord, like hustler, I'll take any of those games. You let me play as Mando, you let me play as basically like a Han Solo type character, bro, I'm there. I'm freaking there. There are so many things you can do in Star Wars that doesn't need to be like laser sword magic guy. Come on. Laser sword magic guy. We played Force Unleashed. We played Force Unleashed 2. We played Jedi Fallen Order. You can play Jedi Survivor right now. Fallen Order and Survivor are mid. The reviews completely disagree with you. Survivor has performance issues, but nobody would describe those games as mid. Fallen Order was highly praised, and Survivor's been highly praised. Like, you don't have to like them, but Jiminy Christmas. Being able to play as like a Mando or like a Han Solo, dude, I'm there. And I'll be honest with you, I'm glad they went with a whole new character. I would have never wanted to play a game as Han Solo. No. Because you're just not going to do it right. There's no way you're going to do it right. There's no way you're going to get Harrison Ford to do the voice. The voice isn't going to sound right because he's older. You know what I'm saying? I think this was the right call. I think this game has like a vibe. It has a feel. It's just got like this. She's got like this Joan Jett, like 80s. She's got her jacket. She's got a little bit of swagger. Even the way, again, they frame this shot here. This feels like something out of a TV show. The way that it's lit, I'm telling you, this is super reminiscent to how Andor opens. This shot here, again, like if you look at movies, if you look at the way they frame things in movies, if you look at the way they set shots up and scenes up, this is like ripped right out of a TV show. This is ripped right out of a TV show. Look at the lighting. And then the way it's set up here, there's just something so solid about this. I couldn't help but look at this and think, this really reminds me of Andor. Like, it really reminds me of how they would set scenes up and set up stories and characters in Andor. It just got that, I don't know. And then the bouncer, not the droid. He's like, you stepping to me, punk? That's good. It's good. Little subtle things. You could have AI'd everyone's voice. Nah, I don't want that. This just feels like Han Solo as female. That's, again, fine. But it feels so already done. Like, if you're going to do Han Solo, just do Han Solo. That's who I actually care about. But it doesn't feel like Han Solo because, number one, look at the timeline. She's interacting with the Empire. She's got an ex-Empire droid, as far as I can tell, with her, right? I'm telling you right now, this doesn't feel like Han Solo at all. 10 spot from TJ Rage. I want to help that guy out. Just let us create our own person. Stop giving us these corny characters and let us make our own. I think that's the weirdest feedback I've ever seen. I think the story in Jedi Fallen Order is cool because you have a character with a name who survived Order 66. It's more interesting, right? You're like, yes, tell me a story in the Star Wars universe. If you want to create your own character, if you want to create your own story, then you're looking for an MMORPG. You're looking for like an actual RPG experience. You're not looking for a story, right? They wanted to tell a Star Wars story in between Empire and Jedi. That doesn't work if you can just make your own character. That's not... Did you complain about that in Borderlands 1, 2, or 3? You just have to pick a character. And even those are more RPGs. Those are looter shooters. And even in those games, you have to pick a character before you can play. This is the problem I think that happens with gaming, is you look at a game that sets out to do something and you want something that's contrary to that. You're like, well, I just want to make my own character. That wouldn't have worked in Jedi Fallen Order. Cal Kestis having a past, having flashbacks with, when he was a Padawan, having flashbacks to Order 66, having to, regain his abilities through the Force, meeting Seer, meeting all the different characters, meeting Marin, all those things, meeting Malachus or whatever his name was, the guy on Dathomir. All those moments are poignant because it's an actual character inside of Star Wars, instead of being like, well, let me just make my own, cool-looking character with a ponytail and a beard. Like, that doesn't... then it's just some other random person in the Star Wars universe, instead of somebody with an actual past. That's exactly Han Solo, animal sidekick, blaster main combat. So you think that Chewbacca is just like a little cute animal sidekick? The animal sidekick is more akin to BD-1 from Fallen Order than he is Han Solo. He's like a little cuddly guy that climbs on stuff. Gifted member from DK Bager taking us to 30. Uh-oh, there's another layup on the table. Another layup for a 20 bomb. The little cuddly character is more akin to BD-1 from Fallen Order than Chewbacca. Her actual sidekick is a droid. Her actual sidekick is a droid. The guy that actually is the muscle that's walking around with her that could fight or shoot is a droid. That's more like Rogue One than it is Han Solo. Chewbacca's not some cute little sidekick. He's a Wookiee with a crossbow. Han is the pet, right? Han is the pet. Listening to some of these takes is like reading dating profiles. I want someone who is tall and strong, but soft and sensitive, earns well and takes care of themselves, but always makes time for me. Right. I want someone out of a frickin' romance novel. That's a wild take, Chewbacca being a pet sidekick. That's what I'm saying. Like, the first thing I thought of when the cute little guy was going around doing stuff for her, I thought of BD-1. I was like, oh, cool. Little dude that hops on your back and goes on all the missions with you. Like, that's way more like BD-1 than Chewie. Come on. Come on. This is a blend of things. This is not some cliche Han Solo story where they gender swapped and like, yeah, just make it a girl. She doesn't seem like Han at all. She doesn't shoot first. She seems a little bit more tactical than Han. She's sneaking around, right? She pulls her gun on that chick from the Empire, doesn't shoot. Han wouldn't have done that. Han would have blown her away. Been like, oh, you're going to tell everybody I'm here? Man, it'd be a shame if, boom, and he'd shoot her. It'd be like, it'd be a shame if somebody hollowed out your head. All right, well, sorry about the problem that you have to deal with now. She's dead, and I'm out of here. Like, Han shoots first. This girl in this K-Vest is sneaking. She's tactical. She's thinking, and she's planning. She's got a speeder. I don't think I ever saw Han. Did we ever see Han on one of those speeders in Jedi? I don't think he gets on any of them, right? Just Leia, Luke, and the Ewoks. BD-1 with more gameplay use. Right. I don't see Han. I see a unique character that clearly has the blaster like Han, right? Like at the side, kind of she's got the swagger, but everything else is unique. It's like, no, she's got her own story to tell. She's literally got a droid walking around with her. That's more like Andor. That's more like Andor and Rogue One. You guys think Han's the only smuggler in Star Wars? Because if they chose the character to be a Quarren, then it would be Han as an alien. Just make a Han Solo game. In my opinion, that's the problem. It's just a mash of Han Solo and Rogue One, and that just doesn't feel original. I wish they would try something out I've already haven't seen in the movies. Well, let me push back on what you're saying, Gilly. Doing a brand new IP like this is already risky. They have to give you something to tether onto. Does that make sense? Like, as a Star Wars fan, I'm able to tether on to some of those tropes and say, okay, I get what you're doing here. I get it. I'm going to be a smuggler. I'm going to be somebody with bounties out on my head, running from the Empire, Right, that's a trope in Star Wars. Bounty hunters was a trope with Han. Then they made a whole show out of it with Mando, and now they're tapping into it in this game. Like, yep, you're gonna be one of those scoundrels out there running away from the bounty hunters. Maybe she even has a run-in with somebody that we recognize. Maybe she runs into like IG-88 or somebody, right? Because this takes place in between Empire and Jedi. So they have to give you something to tether to. I mean, they're literally telling you that this takes place in between Empire and Jedi. You can't just be like, well, here's a Star Wars story. And you're like, yeah, what do I do in this Star Wars story? Well, you're an alien and you're a spice miner and you have to go fight against the Empire because they come and kill your family. And you're like, well, that just sounds like Luke. Well, there's only so many stories you can tell that aren't going to already like suddenly sound like something else. It's too hard within the world that they have and within the lore that they have to not accidentally touch on something familiar. People forgetting about Jane Erso from Rogue One, right? Yeah, she channels her vibe a little bit too, I think. I think she channels the lead character from Rogue One. You haven't played the game, let the story unfold before you judge a character. That's what I'm saying. Like, I just feel like you have to let people like tell stories within a universe that grab onto some things, some anchor points for us to tether to. So woke, bro. Since when do we let females be main characters? Gavin, are you being sarcastic or is it your last day here? Which is it? How come all these people in the superhero movies have powers or are Batman? I just want something new. Right, like you've got to grab hold of things within the universe so that I have some semblance of an idea of like, oh, I get it now. As a Star Wars fan, that gives me something to latch on to. That gives me something to be interested in. As opposed to just some random, completely offshoot story that has nothing familiar in it at all, if that makes sense. And we get a Mando game. There's rumors about a Mando game coming, like a Fall of Mandalore, or what we've been doing in the meantime. Like, I get there needs to be a tether, but does it need to be the same tethers as the movies? Here's what I'm going to say. Oh, that was sarcastic. Okay, Gavin. I was like, you typed it so intentionally poorly, but in my defense, Gavin, we've had some really dumb people wander in the stream some days, so it's hard to know. I was like, you being sarcastic? It's hard to know sometimes. You can always use the emote Lono Kappa if you're being sarcastic. That makes it very, very clear that you don't mean what you say. You gotta always follow up with, and Zelda games are for children. Yeah, that's our written form of Kappa. That's the written way to say you're being sarcastic. The best comeback ever. Are you being sarcastic or is it your last day here? I was pretty sure he was being sarcastic, but I was just letting chat know, like, come on. We're not doing that thing today. Please don't do that frickin' thing where you're like, I don't want to play as a girl. Like, okay. Like, I don't want to play as, anything that's not me, except for all the games where I play as a robot, cyborg, alien, mech. All those things that I'm not, I am not a Japanese man in feudal Japan. I'm not. I know the shirt might make it a little confusing. You might think that I am, but I'm not. And I loved Ghost of Tsushima. Anyways, think of it from this perspective. Let me defend this game a little bit before it comes out, because I've got a raging excitement. I almost said something I shouldn't have said. I'm very excited about this game, okay? This game is a vibe. I even just the heads up, the UI, the font choice, the aesthetic, like that thing over there, that Tashara Orbit Tashal system, and the way they've got it framed, just the 80s vibe, bro. Love it. And her Joan Jett vibe, I totally am in there. I'm with it. I'm like, this is sick. I want to play this game. We have said for a long time, I've had people say every time these Star Wars games come up, they're like, enough with the Jedi, let me play as like an outlaw Han Solo type character. I've had people say that. I've had people say, let me play as Mando. Let me play as a bounty hunter. Okay? Yeah, I don't know why it doesn't autofill them, Eugene. It did, and then it didn't, and they recently updated chat. Chat's better, but it's still not where it needs to be. I don't know why they don't autofill the emotes. So, we've been saying for a while, give me this idea of, like, let me play as a Mando bounty hunter, or let me play as like a scoundrel, outlaw like Han Solo. And they give us one, but because it's not Han Solo, we're like, well, then why do it? If they would have given us a game with Han Solo, do you have any idea how overly critical people would be? Doesn't sound like Han. Doesn't look like Han. Han wouldn't do that. Han wouldn't talk like that. They can avoid all of that, okay? They can avoid all of that and just give you a brand new, fresh story. And yeah, you get to play as a scoundrel. You get to play as an outlaw, Now, if it would have been me, I would have made a Lando game, personally. If I was in charge, if someone said, what kind of game should we make, I'd have gone Lando. Get me Donald Glover, make him look like he did in Solo, and give me a story from there to there. Like, how does he get to Bespin? That might not have been as interesting as this. You'd have to be pretty creative with just how bad Lando got. Like, he seemed kind of more diplomatic, more political. So, Lando might have not have been a good fit. It might have been hard to get him into a game like this, square him with the outlaw trope. But you could have done that. You could have had him go the way of the outlaw, and then fundamentally it would have ended with him meeting somebody that like pulls him out of it, which leads to him kind of ending up at Bespin. So Lando would have been a cool game. But I have every intention to play the ever-loving snot out of this game. I do. I think this game looks great. Voice actors are trash in most games, does not fit in the game most of the time. I think the voice acting in this was perfectly fine. Derek says, if I were making a game like this, I would build in an option to troll the haters. There'd be a guy option, and his name would be Brody, and he would just whine all the time. I don't want to do this mission. I want to go to the Tashi station to buy some power converters. I'm perfectly fine with what they have and where it can go. All right, let's have a different debate. We're an hour in, and I've had my fill of, I don't want to play as a female Han Solo. I've had my fill of that debate. I get where people are coming from. I think this is fantastic. Let's have another debate. Let's shift some gears here. While we're shifting gears to another debate, do me a favor and smash the like button. There's over 600 people here. That's a huge day for a bit of a self-indulgent stream. This isn't like breaking news. This is just my opinion. I was like, I think this game stole the show. Let's talk about it. So thank you so much for tuning in. I love the discussion, but let's not get stuck here. Let's talk about something else. I want to know, what do you guys think about the live service potential? And keep in mind, I'm not talking about online. I'm not talking about multiplayer. I'm talking about an ongoing game. We want a Jar Jar game. Let's write a petition. Raging Snake, you've crossed lines before, but today you've gone too far. You need to stop. You need to absolutely stop it. No. Don't eat. Why would you act? You typed that and now it's in the universe. You just put that into the universe. How dare you? How dare you? You son of a... I just start losing it. She's gonna marry Sue. She's a believable female character, and that's good enough for me. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people went too far with some of their, oh, she's a Mary Sue. I don't feel like debating that either, because every time we've had that debate, I've destroyed the opposition, and they're in denial. Anyways, that was good delivery, Lono. You had me in the first half. All right. Hear me out. The industry is moving to live service. That's the industry wants more live service. This game is being built by Massive. They made Division 1 and 2. They know a little something about ongoing games because the Division 2 was supposed to be end of life 3 years ago. And they just walked out their roadmap for Year 5 that, as far as we can tell, Year 5 ends with a turning point for Year 6 because they're going to be launching like Seasons 2.0 or something. They built what's being described as a massive, seamless universe akin to No Man's Sky, and that was a leak that was basically confirmed right here. They literally leave the planet, they're flying around, they're getting in fights, and then they take the jump to light speed and they go somewhere else. So, my thought would be, they've built this massive game, this massive universe. You wouldn't do that if you were just trying to tell one story. Hear me out. If you're just telling one story, why do you need a massive, seamless universe? Why? Why do you need that? You would just create all these different locations similarly to how they did in Jedi Fallen Order or Jedi Survivor. You would go to those locations, hyperdrive ready, and she's outie. Boom! I love this. I could watch this like 8 times. Okay. And then you can see the Empire. Did you see the Empire thing up in the corner? The Empire tracker thing heated up like she was like in GTA. I love this. I absolutely love this. I want to play this right the frick now. 60 FPS space game. I don't know how they did it, Tommy. It's beyond belief. You can't pick up all the cups in this game, but what you can do is actually take off from the planet, go into outer space, and then jump to light speed and go to another galaxy. You can do all of that at 60 FPS. I'm really glad that they don't let you pick up all the cups in this game, because then it wouldn't be able to be 60 FPS. I can't resist. It's too easy. It's too easy. This huge world. She gets on a speeder bike. She travels miles. And then she gets in her ship and she goes up into outer space and she fights. And then she takes the jump to hyperspace. And she does all of that at 60 FPS. Now, if she would have picked up a couple of cups and a couple of sandwiches, frame rate in the toilet. In the toilet. Thank God you can't pick up cups in this game. Okay, that's enough. That's enough. I had my fun. I did. That was fun. Anyway. 11 months from Yosh with almost an entire year. Thank you so much. I really think it's an engine difference. Detective Seeds, I know. I'm obviously getting in a jab because why would I not? You wrong for that. You wrong for that. You know he's out of line, but he's right. You know he's out of line, but he is right. She did do a whole lot. There's a lot going on there. Anyway. Let me tell you how I think they could do live service in this game. I don't think it would be traditional live service. Okay? Snowdrop's a heck of an engine. I actually think they've made some big advances to Snowdrop because the funny thing is, if you look at this game, if you look at Outlaws, and then you look at the Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora is Snowdrop 2. This is like Snowdrop 3. So they made some big updates to the engine, and I think you're seeing evidence of it in this game. Quite a bit. Quite a bit. So I'm pumped. I'm pumped to see that. Wait, she's got a tattoo. Is there any? You think there's any significance to that tattoo? All you Star Wars nerds out there, look at that. You know, It's not like she had like a rebellious section of her life. This is the rebellious section of her life. Like, what would that, is that tattoo have any significance, you think? So here's how I think they could do live service. I think we're on the cusp of live service taking on a whole new approaches to ongoing. Am I the only one seeing frame drops? You have to watch this. I'm dead serious. Watch it on an iPhone or watch it on your own. I constantly, in Chrome, I can watch a trailer for like a movie or a TV show. I constantly get those little stutters. I don't know what they are. It's not in the trailer, though. I'm telling you right now, it's not in the trailer. I've watched numerous TV and movie trailers that do that in my Chrome browser. I don't know what it is. They did some update a couple of months ago. I think it was like 7 or 8 months ago. They pushed out an update, and I was like, all my YouTube videos have little weird micro stutters now. And I watch them on my phone, and the micro stutters are not there. The micro stutters are not there. So, anyway. What was I saying? Yeah. So, I think you're going to see different iterations of live service. Okay? Different iterations. And here's what I mean. What's the primary problem with live service games in the biggest, most zoomed out reason can you give for live service games struggling? What is it? I would say it's player base. It struggles to maintain a player base because without a player base, many of the live service games, their structure simply won't work. You can't play a game like New World. You can't play a game like The Division, Division 2, Destiny, Anthem. If you don't have player count, if you don't have a player base, it doesn't work. It's like Now, Legend is saying content delivery. I think that's the other problem, but think about it like this, Legend. Content delivery cadence is only a problem when you're trying to maintain a massive player base. It's like you got to hit seasonal. You got to hit really, really fast. You could maybe bump that cadence out if you weren't trying to maintain a player base. And also, Legend, if you build a game that is this big and the main story and all the side quests is, you know, let's say 50 to 100 hours. I'm just speculating. Think about like the massive games that you can play right now where the world is enormous. This game is touting to have this massive, seamless universe. According to Insider Gaming, it's full of activities to do. Another odd word choice, right? So, I would say a great way for them to do this live service would be that you add Outlaws. It's almost episodic. Like you would play as Kay Vess, you'd play through her whole story, and then they'd add in another outlaw that you'd get to play as, and you'd play through their story. Or you could continue doing things with her, and you move the story along. Like, because it takes place in between Empire and Jedi, you could literally have new story things happening with her, and the elements of Jedi take place. So you could have that element of like, I'm attached to the bigger story of Star Wars as I'm playing through Star Wars Outlaws. Is the live service aspect just going to be tacked on with one and done stories? Like, how much content are they going to tack on that's actually worth playing? Well, content loop, the foundation of the game is super important. Oh, I agree with you. I've always said content loop is king. I think the unique struggle of most live service games, though, is like you have to maintain a player base or it doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Now, they've not said this is a live service game. I'm simply asking the question, would you build a game with a massive universe, a seamless universe, to just tell one story? It sounds to me like you built this massive, seamless universe so you could keep doing stuff with it. If you're just telling one story, then why would you do that? Wouldn't you just build a somewhat linear universe experience? Same as we got in Jedi Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor? Is DLC classes live service? It depends on how it's structured, Paul. because a lot of the times DLC is like 1 or 2 and then that's the end of it. I'm talking like ongoing. They would let you know this is an ongoing episodic game and we've got 5 years of content planned. I don't know if you would just say, oh, that's just DLC. You would say, okay, like I said, a new version of live service, Paul. Like a more intentional approach to DLC of saying, this is an ongoing game. This is an ongoing game, but that doesn't mean that it's like a traditional online multiplayer live service game. And again, it's massive. They worked on Division 1 and 2. Their last 2 games have been live service. So if that's the case, and they've built a massive seamless universe, it kind of stands to reason that they would say, we can do a lot in this playground that we built for ourselves. I'm really confused on Outlaws. Can't wait. Can't make my own tune. Just need more info. What do you mean need more info? All the info is available, Hendrix Podcast. It is a single-player, story-driven game about Kay Vess, an outlaw, in between Empire and Jedi. And she has run-ins with, jobs that she can do. And they give you choices on how to approach the jobs. And you have run-ins with the Empire. So she basically has to worry about getting chased by the Empire, chased by bounty hunters. There's stealth elements to the game. I mean, the Star Wars game looked cool, but the Avatar game looked even cooler. I'm not with you on that one, Doomslayer. I will say this. I was extremely hesitant about the Avatar game and the Avatar trailer, especially if you go and watch the 4K version, right? If you go and watch the 4K version, it looks way better. I was convinced that it actually looked quite good. I was like, okay, this looks way better than I thought. Why are they making the TIE Fighter yellow, though? Is that something from Star Wars lore I'm not familiar with? Like taking a TIE Fighter and changing its colors? You think they're like turning it into their own? Are they turning it into their own thing, or has it been scrapped for parts and that's like underneath? It looks like they've literally painted it. Division 2 is 2 cities. Avatar looks like reskin Far Cry. I think that's just one of those just really, really lowbrow. I think that's such a terrible take, Butters. I saw 1 or 2 influences from Far Cry. Oh, you can go to an outpost and you can fight. Everything else looked unique. The size, the scope, the flying, the world itself, it didn't look like Far Cry. There was mechanics that we've seen before. Wait a minute. Okay, so he can fetch her a gun or health. Fetch. He's right here. Okay. Oh, he goes and gets her the gun. I missed that the first couple of times. I've not noticed that until just now. He goes and gets her the gun. That's why all of a sudden there's like a gun at her feet. Right? Is that why? Because the guy up here, I didn't see a gun. She just busts his shield. Yeah. He's at her feet right there, and she picks it up. Yeah, the sound right here was excellent. Even the muzzle flare from it is awesome. That's cool. I don't remember flying mounts in Far Cry. There was one Far Cry where you could fly quite a bit. There was like a little copter you could get in. So there's definitely some influence from Far Cry, but it just, again, I don't know. I'm so tired of seeing a brand new game, and the minute you sniff influence or similarities to another game, you're like, yeah, it's just Far Cry. It's like, okay. Avatar is Far Cry. Outlaws looks closer to a Sony single-player open-world game. I actually think this does look like a blend of like Uncharted and other games. Like I don't think it doesn't feel like Uncharted. It feels like it's kind of borrowing ideas that we've seen in Uncharted, especially this little chase sequence here was a little Uncharted-esque, but it also reminds me a teeny bit of Days Gone with using the motorcycle to get around. Curious, this isn't hers, right? She leaves this behind. At least it seems like she leaves this behind. Her syndicate. Okay, so her Pike syndicate reputation goes down. So that's obviously, there's some type of morality system in here, or the reputation system in here as well. So she did something to tick them off, and maybe she could have done something to make them happy. So it seems like, again, you're going to be able to have like a very customized experience in this, because they don't show you what would happen if she bribes this chick from the Empire, and they don't show you what would happen if she increased her reputation with the Pike. She hurts it. Our goal is to create a game and story that bring both new and lifelong fans on an immersive and outstanding journey, which will stay with them for years to come. You could read that as the years to come part, maybe as DLC. Right, Paul, I want you to pair that quote as, oh, it stays with you for years to come. I want you to pair that. Listen to the other section. Listen to what the creative director said about. And that says, that right there is exactly what I was talking about. That's singular story, right? First, he says, we want to make it a unique game in the saga with a captivating story and set of characters that players can relate to and connect with. So right there's your captivating story. That's singular. He goes on to say, we want to make what is familiar and resonant about Star Wars and tell the stories of new characters who have their own motivations and stakes. So you have more stories, you have new characters and their motivations and stakes. Now, if you want me, Dark Taco says, lay up. He's laying up. A 20 bomb would be both the 50 as well as the Agent of Chaos. He's trying to lay up a 20 bomb to somebody. There it is. Thank you, Dark Taco. So again, the stories and the new characters could literally just be in the world. They could just be in the game, okay? But it could also be, we want to have other stories, other characters. What do I care about the motivations and stakes of the other characters? I care about my character for the most part. So again, from him saying they wanted to stay with you for years to come, and that line about stories and characters being sort of, what is this? Click here. Influence logic. Is that the company that I'm supposed to be working with? I don't know what that is. Stays with you for years to come could just mean you look back fondly on your experience for years. Don't get too excited and read too much into it unless they give you a good reason to. Well, here's the thing, Solemn. This is massive. Okay? They've made Division 1 and 2, and they're saying this game's going to stay with me for years to come. All right? And look at what Creature said a little while ago. Division 2 has 2 cities in it. Okay? It has 2 cities in it. This game boasts of a massive universe, a seamless universe, okay? I want you just to pay attention to how far she travels here. This is an open world. It also is a massive universe, seamlessly going from planet to planet. And watch how far she travels here. Now, obviously, somebody could say, this is just cinematic. None of these areas have any points or any purpose. Are you sure about that? Watch how many times she sets off little people along the way. So these guys notice her. This has all the markings of an open world game with things to do inside of it. Those guys ahead of her have been alerted. Now you could say, this is just a predetermined scripted scene where you're on a road. It's not an open world. Well, that's not how they're describing it. I mean, that looks like almost like a miniature little base or outpost. Watch how far she travels. I don't understand. Like, I'm just trying to think logically. If I'm building a one-off story, and I'm the people who made Division 1 and 2, right? Division 2 has 2 cities in it. This thing boasts tons of planets, seamless travel between them, a massive universe. Look at how far she's traveling. Now, there's a road up there to the right she could have taken, so I don't think this is just a purely cinematic sequence where she's kind of on rails, or, sorry about my mouse, where she's like, being kind of forced to go to different places. Because it's clear when you look right here, there's the main hub she's headed to, but there's buildings up here, right? There's these little outcroppings that look like bases. There was something over here on the far left as well. There's ships flying. Yeah, there's that ship. There's that ship, and not a ship. That's that base there. This guy drives by. And then look, there's animals. Like, this kind of reminds me of kind of like the open world of Far Cry a little bit. I don't know, man. This is one location. This is one planet. I am not going to sit here and try and hype you guys up into thinking that this game is more than it is, but I have a hard time believing you would build a game this enormous for one story. That just seems so backwards. By tons of planets, there's probably 4. The pessimism is exhausting. DJJ becoming a member. Welcome back in. Look at the radar at the upper top of the screen. It detects enemies in her FOV. That tells me there's more explorable space. You also speculated the same with Hogwarts 2. I don't know if they'll do that. I would be down for that if it's a scenario you described. Well, my argumentation for Hogwarts was very different. My argumentation for Hogwarts was online, co-op. You're in a social environment. You're at school. It makes sense to turn the Hogwarts school into the central hub. There's still the possibility of Hogwarts online long term. They would just turn the school into the central hub, and then you go out into all these other places. That was a very, very different argument than, this is massive. They did all this stuff for one story. This is the company that made Division 1 and 2. They built one planet just this size alone that we just saw. Yeah, I'm not talking thousands of planets. It wouldn't surprise me if there's 8 to 10. I think 30 saw 5 locations and 5 planets. 5 planets? That seems awfully low. But again, if they're adding... I don't know, but if there's only 5 planets, why would you need to build why would you describe it as a seamless universe? Why would you describe it in that way? 5 planets? Listen to how Insider Gaming described it. From what we already know, the Ubisoft Star Wars game will boast a fully open, seamless universe akin to that found in No Man's Sky. Now, if they're saying that to be like, oh, it's seamless in how you travel and it's fully open, you can go wherever you want, like No Man's Sky. They're not saying, quintillion planets. 8 to 10 open worlds? I don't know. Listen to that description. Now, maybe that's just supposed to be a mechanical description. Maybe it's just purely mechanical. They're saying it's open and seamless, like how it's open and seamless in No Man's Sky. They're not saying like, oh no, yeah, there's going to be a bunch of planets. Calling it a seamless universe, though? A universe? They didn't say a seamless galaxy with a couple of planets that's seamless. It's a seamless universe. In the game, players will be able to jump between systems, immersing themselves in a vast galaxy, bursting at the seams with activities. So, not just jumping between systems, but a vast galaxy. I don't know, man. It just doesn't sound like a handful of planets in a single story. It sounds like a foundation for something bigger. 5 could be the base game. Yeah, I mean, that if 5 locations, if they're as big as the one we've already seen, that actually would be fairly large. You got to think about the install size of the game. That's fair. Like, okay, if they're all as big as the one that we saw, 5 of them would be a massive install size if they're that full. So 5 could actually be rather gigantic. And then you just add later, maybe. I don't know. Are we even getting full-size planets? I feel like No Man's Sky is probably a bad comparison because it doesn't seem to match what we were shown. Sounds like clever wording. I mean, it's Insider Gaming. They're not PR. They're saying this is what we've heard. This game launches with 5 planets that are open world, and I can seamlessly travel through and go where I want and do what I want. That's a win, and I'll be excited for every time they expand it. Could be like Mass Effect, and you can land on a planet and visit a small outpost. Devil's Advocate, Mass Effect was a vast galaxy in a single game as well. Yeah, but Mass Effect wasn't born at a time where live service was the focus, and it wasn't made by a company known for live service. Live service is the focus, This is made by a company that makes live service games. They say they want you to the game to stay with you for years to come, which again, who talks like that? Yeah, this game's going to stay with you for years to come. Like, just say it's going to be a really immersive and amazing story. You know, a brand new story in Star Wars canon in between Empire and Jedi. We think you guys are going to love it. It's going to stay with you for years to come? What? The flight we saw is 100% No Man's Sky-esque. Yeah, leaving the planet and then fighting and then making the jump to hyperspace is 100% a very No Man's Sky-esque thing. Again, track with me on this. Why would you build all that for one story? Do you understand where my logic is on this? I'm looking at this from a pure business perspective. If I'm the developer, why would I invest all that time, all that research, all that development into systems that aren't really necessary for a good one-off story? Those sound like systems built for longevity, for like a living, breathing world that you stay in for a long time. Again, I'm not talking about online. 30 had a tester in his chat yesterday, a regular chatter that got flown to Sweden to test and sign an NDA. He said this isn't even the tip of the iceberg and the areas are bigger. Well, there you go. People who think their story is better than it actually is. These people can fall to hubris just as much as anyone. Not saying it is, but possible. Leaving the planet in the trailer was a cutscene? No, it wasn't. Her initial takeoff might have been a cutscene, but the actual takeoff was not. That's not true. There's like a little mini interim that she does. Okay, they do a teeny cutscene, but once she's flying, because she goes up here, she sits down, and she presses takeoff. So this right here is a transition. That's totally fine. I'm fine with this. You're allowed to do this. It doesn't need to be like No Man's Sky where I press the thrusters and she is, boom, back in control of the thing. Her little heads-up display is back up. Now, right now, obviously, there's not much for her to do. I mean, I don't know if right now she could nose down and change her mind and land. I don't know. I don't know what level of freedom you have. But this right here, you're back on the sticks, your hands rumbling, and now you're back in control. Again, I don't know what level of freedom, like once she says take off and the plane goes and her ship goes up like that, can she nose down and land again and say, oops, I changed my mind? I don't know. We also don't know what like landing looks like. It might not necessarily be No Man's Sky where you can land anywhere you want. You might get in orbit, press a button, and it brings you down. It literally picks a spot for you. Now, the fog when she's taking off, they're hiding a load screen for sure, and I'm totally fine with that. You can't expect this area out here to be loaded in and rendered while you're humming around on a speeder bike on the planet. I don't have a problem with that. She's clearly, in a loading screen, and this right here is a loading screen. Watch. Boom. This is a loading screen that you're hiding. That's totally fine. That's completely acceptable because they have to load in the other galaxy that she's going to. You know what I'm saying? So it's a mixture. I think it's the right amount of mixture. She says take off. Ding, 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 ding. And they do a little intermediate cutscene, and then she's back on the sticks. You have a heads-up display pop up. They use the fog to hide the loading of the probably, the outer space assets, and then she's out there and she's fighting. Have they said if flight sticks are compatible? I don't know if they've said that or not. Then that's not seamless? Yes, it is seamless. There was nothing that took you out of the game. There was no loading bar, loading screen, here's a tip, here's how to shoot. It was, she pushes a button, they show a little scene of her doing that, you're back in the pilot seat, you're back in the driver's seat. It's one moment to the next. It's completely seamless. There's no break. There's no, hang on a minute, we got to load the assets, little bar spinning down in the corner. When they say seamless, they don't mean there's not going to be like intermediate things that take place along the journey. Like, there's teeny little moments, sure, but there's no loading screen. They hide the loading screen, and that's acceptable. When I say loading screen, I mean literally when the big window comes up and you see concept art and the little bar along the bottom is filling. That doesn't happen in this game. That's impressive. Do you understand? Any game in the past that tried to do what this game just did would have had at least 2 loading screens. You would have had a loading screen getting you to outer space, and then you'd had a loading screen getting to another universe. It's like squeezing through tight spaces then? Yeah, but even they said that's not hiding loading screens. They explained why they did that. Now, some games do that. Jedi Fallen Order does the squeezing through tight spaces, and that again is also hiding a loading screen. No Man's Sky is 100% seamless. Outlaws is more like 80% seamless. Well, right, because in No Man's Sky, you literally climb in the cockpit and you press a button. You press a button and then you're flying. She actively runs to her ship like that. Nothing has happened yet. She's literally run from inside the cantina. She runs right up the ramp and she goes to the cockpit. And they use an intermediate scene to transition from this to flying. Because again, you're no longer her, you're the plane, right? The difference is in No Man's Sky, your literal body is in the plane, and now the plane is an extension of you. In this, it's different. You're no longer her. They have to transition you to being the plane, and that's how they do it. You're now the ship. Boom, you're now in control. The heads-up display is there. You are no longer in a cutscene. Now, basically what they've done is they've loaded you into a funnel. This is like squeezing through a tight space. This is all predetermined, but you're literally in the game right now. You're not on some screen waiting to get back into the game. Again, they have to transition. Like, you have a whole new heads-up display. You are no longer her. You are essentially the ship. That you are that ship in space. Like, you're not inside the ship as like a teeny tiny version anymore. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I don't want Outlaws to be No Man's Sky. They're different game experiences. This is Bamboozled Lono. It's all cutscenes, no control. Yeah, this is a cutscene too. I can't identify with a spaceship, so I don't want to control one in the game. Over the 2 seconds of takeoff. Right. If you can't nose down and cancel, it's not seamless. You don't get to define seamless. I don't define games according to folks like you anyway, Big Mole. Like no offense intended, but I don't allow folks like you to define anything because you're always driven by some weird agenda. Like, I can't take folks like you seriously. So I don't let agenda-driven axe grinders determine any categories for me. Seamless is seamless. I never left the game. I was never on a loading screen. I was never waiting for things to happen like a little bar spinning in the corner. I went on the ship takes off, I'm in control of the ship, I'm in outer space, hyperspace, I'm in another galaxy, and there was no break. There was no, hang on a minute, here's a tip, use your blaster in fights to and then, oh, now I'm back into the game. That's seamless. When you don't leave the game and everything happens in sequence, that's seamless. Now, we can't confuse seamless with single camera shot. Right? You can't, like, a single camera shot, like in God of War, is not the same as seamless. Seamless is there was no loading screen. You never left the game. You were in the game the entire time. Like, no, we're not saying single camera shot like in God of War, where they're literally, the scenes in God of War, the cutscenes themselves are one camera shot. You walk into the room, the camera's on your back, the camera zooms out, and people start talking and interacting. And then the camera moves and does what it needs to do, and then it comes back and it rests behind you. That's not seamless. That's single camera shot. Those are different terminologies. You can have a game that's quote-unquote seamless because there are literally no loading screens. They keep you in the game while everything happens. Can't wait to see that you're forced to land on specific pads and see how people react to that. Yeah, you're not going to be... I don't think you're going to be able to No Man's Sky land in this. I don't think you're going to be able to just land on some outpost just because you feel like it. You're going to have to land in predetermined spots. I'd say it's more like how Starfield will handle takeoff. You'll get in the ship, get a cover transition, and then be in space. Well, but the way they've described landing landing and taking off in Starfield feels more like a giant cutscene, and then all of a sudden you're in control of your person. This felt less like a cutscene and more like, okay, you're no longer K, you're now the ship. We use a 5-second cutscene to get you to this point. But then you literally are in the ship as it goes into the atmosphere. I don't think Starfield's doing that. I don't think Starfield has, like, people are curious about low atmospheric flying in Starfield. I actually don't think there's low atmospheric flying in that game. I think there is running around on your feet, flying in outer space. That's it. I don't think there's any intermediate experience at all. I don't think there is. Space Marine 2 trailer, I think, looks amazing. I was excited when I heard it was co-op. Guys, could we get 300 likes on the stream? Little bit of a different style stream today, focusing on one game that I think was the Summer Game Fest winner, debating all the different aspects of the game and why I think it looks promising. And it looks like she can even repair when she's out here. You got missiles. That's probably just blaster. And then this looks like a way to repair yourself. Blue shield at the top, and then 4 little health bars on the bottom. Did I pause the music? Whoops, sorry. So No Man's Sky hides it better, but it's 100% a load screen when you go to and from a planet. It suspends you in the air, just like you would be fooled. You think you are still calling to the sea's edge. Exactly. I agree with that, Butters. Like, it is a little bit more like you can't quite tell as much in No Man's Sky. They certainly do hide it quite a bit better. Like in this, it's just like a giant fog. And I think that's fine. Again, nitpicking something like that's hilarious to me because, like, is there a game you can go play aside from No Man's Sky? Is there some amazing... Is there a game out there that looks like this with respect to graphical... Like, the graphical fidelity of this game and all the different things that you can do? Can you go play a game like this on your Series X or your PS5 right now? Because you're going to be able to play this game on a console and do all of the things that we've seen as a seamless experience. See, what I think happens sometimes is people argue against an ideal that doesn't exist because it's an easy way to always be unhappy and critical. You create an ideal that doesn't exist. Like, you can't go play a game like this anywhere. Even Jedi Survivor and Jedi Fallen Order are not like this. Right? Star Citizen? Who gives a frick about Star Citizen? What percentage of the populace can play Star Citizen and have it look as good as that and do all those things? Like, what percentage? How many people have a computer strong enough to play Star Citizen at that level and really, truly enjoy it? Like, Star Citizen is the worst example because you have to have a crazy computer to even run it well. Again, there is no game out there that does all these things. So it's like, well, it's not really seamless because, I mean, there's a little bit of a cutscene, and there's fog, and you can clearly tell they're hiding the load screen. Okay, go find me a game that's doing this and has zero evidence of load screens, like zero evidence of, like, hiding loading assets. They're literally having you fly through the fog so they can load everything, like they're hiding it. I love Star Citizen. Star Citizen looks cool, but that was the point I was making. Find me a game where you can do everything we've seen in Star Wars Outlaws that you can go play on a console outside of No Man's Sky. And No Man's Sky don't look like this. Okay? No Man's Sky is beautiful. I'm a huge fan of No Man's Sky. But I think the problem is people argue against an ideal. They say, well, this game's not doing X, Y, Z. It's like, where is a game that does that? Do you have a game that does that? Oh, I had the coffee alert off today. Whoops. If anybody's ordered coffee, I'm sorry the alert didn't pop up. We actually have an alert now for the coffee if you order it. And we switched the link below and the link on Nightbot because the other link wasn't working. Yep, somebody did order today. Sorry about that. Eugene coming in with 3 dark roast. It should have popped up and been like, hey, somebody ordered some coffee. It should have popped up and said that. Sorry, it did not. I fixed it. Can't believe there's chatter simping for No Man's Sky. I think this is one of the things that frustrates me about No Man's Sky. People that have never played the game and probably have had to delete tweets of themselves making fun of the game are constantly trying to use it as a baseball bat all of a sudden. That shirt is awesome. You like my shirt? This is from Into the AM. You can use code Lono over there. They're having a huge sale right now. 20 up to 80% off. Hey, somebody ordered some coffee. Maybe that's the one from earlier. They're having a huge sale on their best sellers right now. 20 to 80% off. You can use my discount on top of that. You can use my discount on top of that. Use code Lono or go to intotheam.com/Lono. We love working with them. Coffee came yesterday. Oh, you ordered that well before the stream? Okay. Yeah, it popped up just now, unless somebody did another one. I don't see a new one back here. So it seems like that was in the queue. So thank you for ordering some coffee earlier. But that's what bothers me about No Man's Sky, is there's so many people that don't even play it, and they try and use it as like a weapon against Starfield or against Star Wars Outlaws. No more 80s teas. You can always use my code at 80s teas. I feel like we're kind of shifting away from 80s teas because their prices are just so high. Nobody was using the code. The shirts are like $40. He needs to drop his prices. Into the AM's prices are far more reasonable, and I'm in talks with another t-shirt company whose prices are far more reasonable. So, like, you know, 80s Tees has been very good to me, but they went from being like $20 and $30 shirts to like $40 shirts. My discount doesn't look that good anymore. And a lot of the times you go over there, you can get a 30% discount by like plugging in your email. So like people weren't even using my code. I was like, okay, you know what I mean? Like I like to work with a company where you guys can get something at maybe a little bit better price, and you know, it makes and my code actually gets used. And my code actually gets used. If you ask for an example of something that does it better than Star Wars Outlaws, I'm going to use that example. That includes No Man's Sky. Sorry, not sorry. What does it do better than Star Wars Outlaws? A game you haven't played yet, by the way. What does No Man's Sky do better? What? Because they're completely different games with completely different objectives and content loops. What? What's it do better? There's minimal combat in No Man's Sky. I've always found the combat to be subpar. The space combat in No Man's Sky is so unappealing. They added an auto-aim feature, an auto-tracking feature, because the space combat just doesn't ever feel that great. Seamless transitions. So, is that something that you think is that important in a game? Seamless transitions? Really? So, when you play No Man's Sky, you can build, you can explore, have freighters, run piracy, you can craft, you can have this your entire outpost, you can have all these vehicles, but what really matters to you is the seamless transitions? I believe Outlaws won't come to the close to the freedom of No Man's Sky. What? Oh. You broke my brain with that comparison. Who said that this game was going to be a game with freedom to rival No Man's Sky? No Man's Sky, a space exploration sim game. That would be like saying, I don't think this game is going to have the freedom of Minecraft. Yes, of course. Sim games that give you almost limitless options of exploration and building aren't setting out to do what Star Wars Outlaws is setting out to do. How many ships will you have in Outlaws? 1, 2? You see what I'm talking about? Like, I'm making an argument? How? What's your argument? That seamless transitions are better? That, like, who cares about that? Like I said, I think there are people who you're creating flaws out of thin air. You're creating flaws out of thin air. So in Jedi, it'd be like going to Jedi Survivor and saying, well, how many ships do I have in Jedi Survivor? You wanted a comparison? I just gave you one? No. You're having trouble listening. I didn't say, find me a comparison in a game that sets out to do completely different things. Okay. I said, find me a game that you can play right now at this graphical fidelity that lets you do all these things on a console. That's what I asked for. No Man's Sky is not at this level of graphical fidelity. Beautiful game, but it don't look like this. Okay? It don't look like this. So coming up with like, oh, but I can have more ships in No Man's Sky, and the seamless transitions in No Man's Sky are better. Okay. First and foremost, No Man's Sky is one game, and No Man's Sky has essentially a genre all to itself. Star Wars Outlaws is not attempting to even step into that landscape. This is an action, narrative-driven story that has a seamless movement between universes like No Man's Sky, but it's not setting out to be No Man's Sky. So, you're not understanding the comparison. I can't find a game that lets me do all the things in Star Wars Outlaws. I can't. There's not a game that lets me do that. You can, sure, you can land in No Man's Sky, and you can talk to people, and you can have little conversations and go on little quests, but it's not like this. I didn't say No Man's Sky was better. I'm arguing it's different. It didn't seem like you were arguing it was different. It seemed like you were arguing it was better, because you were like, well, how many ships can you have in this game? And you said, let's really track this. Let's really track it. I'm not saying it's better. Really? I believe Outlaws won't come close to the freedom of No Man's Sky. That's framed as if No Man's Sky is better. If you weren't intending to frame it as better, the way you type that sentence, it kind of feels like you're saying No Man's Sky is better. You're saying, I believe that Outlaws won't come close to the freedom of No Man's Sky. That creates a hierarchical comparison. It's like, it's not going to compare. It's going to have way more freedom, okay? It won't come close. That sounds like you're creating a hierarchy of value. You're saying this one's better. If that's not your intention, then the sentence was phrased rather strangely. You added on to this sentence and said, how many ships will you have in Outlaws? 1, 2? Again, seeming to re-emphasize the hierarchical comparison that you made, keeping No Man's Sky at the top. And then you said you wanted the comparison, I just gave you one. So if you're going to try and claim now, you're like, I wasn't saying it was better. It just, that's how it came across. You were creating this hierarchy of like, it's not going to come close to this game. Doom Slayer gets a gifted member from DK Bager. Thank you so much. Bad framing then. I think it's bigger, but that doesn't mean it's better. Right. Another way of framing it would be they're completely different games. Like, No Man's Sky of necessity has to be bigger. Why? Because of what you're doing. It's a space sim, exploration, crafting, building game. Like, it's a bunch of different types of games kind of wrapped into one. You kind of need 18 quintillion planets in order for that game to function. Star Wars Outlaws can have 7 or 8 planets. Somebody's saying 5. That feels a teeny bit low, but again, I feel like they're going to add on to the game. But if all those planets are open world and traversable, and you can get in, dogfights in outer space. Feels like this game's going to be huge. I never thought a Bethesda game was that good to begin with, but to each their own. I'm not the only one saying it. What? You're not the only one saying what? What are you saying? Nah, it's a generational game. Oh, you're talking about Starfield? Man, some of you guys can't help yourselves. 33 members on the day. Thank you so much, Zinthos, for gifting a member. You guys want to slow walk it one at a time to 50? Be my guest. Thank you for doing that. Leonidas gets a gifted membership. No one knows what you can actually do in this game. This was a stupid scripted playthrough for PR. Come on, Reforge. You have said that about other games before. Let's wait to see gameplay with mechanics. Hey, Plumleys, shut your frickin' face. Literally, the vibe you bring's terrible. This is gameplay, bro. Like, put duct tape over your mouth and put your hands in your pockets. The adults are talking. That's literally what this was. That's what this was. This was not some PR scripted, simulated, in-engine gameplay showcase. This was in-game footage. This was actual gameplay. If this was an Xbox exclusive, you would be quite literally crying right now. You'd be elated. You would be in a 24-hour weep fest at the beauty of this game. But because it's third party, we've got to be like, well, no one knows anything. This is just a bunch of scripted playthrough PR. What did you think of the Fable trailer? Fairly certain you were one of the people in here talking about how amazing that trailer was, how it had gameplay. Literally fake in-engine simulated gameplay. And you Xbox guys are going crazy over that. We get uninterrupted. It even says work in progress. So like, this isn't even the finished product, right? This isn't even representative of quality. This is just uninterrupted gameplay from moment one. This is the game right here. Going from this little cute guy carrying a avocado or whatever the heck it is, and right into gameplay. Fable did have gameplay? No, it didn't. No, it did not. Everybody, listen to me. Listen to me. All the people claiming that Fable had gameplay, it's literally everything that we used to complain about. It's everything we used to complain about. We would go to E3, we would see showcases, and they would do all this in-engine simulated gameplay, and we would say, that's not real gameplay. We said it about Anthem, we said it about Division 1, we've said it about so many different games that show up and say, this is in-engine, and we're like, yes, but that's not what it looks like. There was a Star Wars Battlefront game that did the same dadgum thing. It was in-engine, and it was simulated, and I said, man, oh man, that looks too good to be true. And it was too good to be true because it was in-engine. But because it's your brand, it's okay. Oh, no, that's gameplay. No, it is not. It's in-engine capture of animations to simulate what gameplay will look like. There is such a distinct difference between the two. This is gameplay. When you transition from a cinematic to a heads-up display, there's button prompts. It's clear that this is taking place in a game. It's taking place in an engine. If you pay careful attention, you could probably find some bugs and some glitches and some pop-in. I guarantee you. Why? Because it's actually happening in-game. This is gameplay that they captured. Somebody's got their hands on a controller right now. Like, in-engine isn't gameplay. All these pundits out here, all these bloggers, all these YouTubers, homie, they're lying. They know they're lying. That's the worst part. We have been covering game showcases for over a decade, and that's always been the complaint. The complaint has always been that wasn't gameplay. That was in-engine simulated gameplay. We've been doing this for too long to suddenly recategorize and say, oh, no, that's gameplay. The only reason you're saying that is because of brand loyalty. You're not saying it because it's honest. You're not saying it because we allow that in any other game. What other game has done that you classified as gameplay? What other game are you giving that free pass to? We've never done that. Every single time I've been covering E3, I think from 2016. In 2016, 2017, and 2018, I said that every time. I was like, that's not gameplay. It's just in-engine. It's simulated. There's no HUD. It seems too smoothed over. It seems like a cinematic. These companies are very good at faking stuff. Question is if Massive are straight with us or not. Okay, in my experience, if you're going to fake us out, you typically have cuts. One of the reasons I think this is the genuine article. Number one, they open up and say work in progress. Quality is not indicative of the finished product. You don't say that when you're faking people out. You say that when you're worried that there might be some glitches and bugs in the footage. Right? You don't say, oh, hey, guys, this is a work in progress. This doesn't represent the final product. You don't say that when you're faking me out. And the length of the gameplay. It can be done. We've seen it with Watch Dogs. Yes, let's continue to go back to Watch Dogs, a game that literally got caught showing souped up footage on a PC to trick everybody. What was it, like 7 years ago? If this is faked, it's the best faked gameplay of all time. Yeah, it's too lengthy. There's too much going on. There's heads-up display. There's AI. There's radar. There's pop-ups. There's too much going on for this to be faked. I've seen faked gameplay before. My spidey sense tingles. It's like, I said that about Hellblade 2. One of my most anticipated games. I said I was worried that first showcase they showed us. I said, I don't know. It seems like it might be simulated. It seems like it might be fully rendered. And they said, no, it was raw. And I said, okay. Okay, developers said it's raw. Sven says, I posted this yesterday. There are extremely tiny hints of gameplay, but it's super hidden and masked as cinematic. There's no HUD or anything. I'm not sure what you're talking about. These short clips in Fable video look like gameplay without a HUD. Yeah, but there's just no way to know. They said it was in-engine. In-engine doesn't mean... Oh. We had a developer from Fable come to the stream and say, this is what he said to me. He said, that trailer for Fable wasn't CG. It was all in-engine. That right there is all the confirmation you need that it's not gameplay. He's creating a juxtaposition between CG and in-engine. Track with me here. Go read Aaron Greenberg's tweet to feel the wrong just pour over you. Just drink it in. You're wrong. Greenberg says there'll be in-game footage. Translation, that's gameplay. There'll be in-engine footage. There'll be a mix of in-game with cinematic. And the Fable dev says that was all in-engine. Ding, 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 ding. That's not gameplay, not even according to Aaron Greenberg. Do you see? There's two terminologies here. In-game and in-engine. And I had a Fable dev in my chat say, that's not a CG trailer. It's in-engine. What's good, Captain Steve? Congratulations on 30K, my friend. I think they've taken a lot of work that they've done on Beyond Good and Evil 2 and transposed it over here. Maybe, or maybe just what they learned from Beyond Good and Evil 2 benefited this game. I definitely get a teeny bit of Beyond Good and Evil vibes from this game. Just a teeny bit. The size, the scope, even the cinematics with the way they're like talking. Right there was poppin'. Boom. It's not gameplay. It's fully ready. Shut up. You make frickin' Christmas. You guys ready? Yep, right there. Pop in. Ding, 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 ding. This is what happens when you record footage in your game. There's going to be microcosmic clues that this is raw, that this took place in an actual live fire environment, and they actually recorded it. I told you there would be pop-in. I was like, I bet you there's pop-in, and we found some. This doesn't happen with faked in-engine footage. You wouldn't have pop-in. You'd go back and clean that up. You'd go back and clean that up. You see? This is what happens when you come to somebody who combs over footage like the JFK Zapruder film, and the difference between me and pundits who say stupid things like 60 FPS is a buzzword, right? We break down frame by frame. We look at everything. I've been doing this for such a long time that there's literally no way I almost never get tricked. I'm like, nah, that's fake. That's fake. We did it with the day before. I was like, that's fake. There's no way. That's fully rendered. I still have doubts about that first Hellblade showcase. I still have doubts. I still feel like they played some trickery. The very first Hellblade 2 showcase. I still have my doubts. Because it's almost like too good to be true. It's too good to be true. Oh, hang on. I need this. Give me 1 second, creature. Sorry, 1 second, guys. Is it in this or is it in this? It's in this. We gotta use that. And then we need a link. There. That all needs to be included. Okay. Yo, Reforge, to change the subject, what's your go-to game that you like playing at the moment? Diablo 4 with my wife is my go-to game right now. Diablo 4 couch co-op right now is like my go-to game. I played that Final Fantasy 16 demo last night, and I didn't anticipate enjoying this game at all. I didn't think that I would like the gameplay that much. I didn't think I would like the combat that much, or the story. And I was captivated from moment one. The character development, the dialogue, the characters themselves, like, and the combat, I really, really hope everybody's saying it's an old build because it is .01, and the launch version of the game is going to be .03. So we're playing two versions old. I really hope they can smooth out the frames because it blew me away. I was not expecting to like it. I thought, okay, Final Fantasy fans will dig this, Devil May Cry fans will dig this, and I lost track of time. It was midnight, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to go to bed. The cutscenes, the dialogue, the graphics, the combat. I was absolutely not ready for Final Fantasy 16. I was not. Liza P demo is good. It's a little bit more rough. Some of the dodging and stuff doesn't work quite right. Is today the Xbox extended thing, or is that tomorrow? I was not expecting you to like it either. I couldn't get over the story. I never, you guys know me. I never get involved in story that much. I was gripped. I was like, this is awesome. This is awesome. The dynamic between all the characters, it's excellent. It is excellent. Oh, it's today? Shoot. I didn't have anything prepared for it. What time is it today? Today at 1? They're over there having an excuse fest. Last time we covered it, I didn't like it. It was just a bunch of sit-downs with no new info. It was really, really boring. I'll tell you what we'll do. I think we'll skip on it. I think what we'll do is we'll skip on it because the last time there was just nothing new. If anything new pops out, we can cover it tomorrow maybe. I was going to do a full Starfield breakdown tomorrow. Final Fantasy 16 on PC? No, not anytime soon. According to Yoshi P, you won't even get Final Fantasy 16 on PC within 6 months of the launch date, so... Yo, what's good, Donnie? Clocked 50 hours in Diablo. World Tier 3 is stupid fun. The dopamine effect's picking up. Legendaries. Yeah, my wife and I are just enjoying the story right now. Just slowly working our way through the story. We're in the 20s. We're in the 20s level-wise. It was mandatory the Creative Business 3 team watch Game of Thrones. I 100% got that vibe, True King. I was like, I dig this story so much. They're going to be going in-depth into Hellblade 2 today, they said. Okay. We saw plenty of gameplay for No Man's Sky and Cyberpunk, and they were different in a lot of ways. This seems so early. Very likely for this, right? Very likely? First and foremost, No Man's Sky gameplay, Russell... If you go back and look at the initial reveal of No Man's Sky, it was a joke in comparison to what launched. Sean Murray walked around, the graphics were turned down, the world detail was turned down, he swam in some water and scanned a fish. It was so low tier. Cyberpunk? We don't get to invoke Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk's in its own lane of stupid, overhyped marketing. We don't get to, I don't think you get to invoke Cyberpunk and be like, yeah, that's what's going on with Star Wars Outlaws. Star Wars Outlaws is a lengthy, unbroken, no-cuts gameplay showcase. This is not in that category. Are we doing this with, let me ask you guys something. You see this here? 200 showcased games and announcements. Let me get full screen here. 206. I counted. 7 showcases starting with PlayStation. Actually more. PlayStation there were more because PlayStation did 32 announcements. So 238 games, announcements, trailers, whatever. 7 to 8 showcases. Are we doing the same thing with every other game that was shown? Are you being just as skeptical and cynical? Were you Xbox guys that way with Fable? What about Avowed? What about Hellblade 2? Were you being that skeptical? What about Starfield? Were you? Were you saying, I don't know if it's real, it might be overhyped, I don't think the game's going to look that way? No. We walked away from Starfield Direct. I said, we might be looking at Game of the Year. That looked really good. 30 FPS obviously deflated my excitement, but Starfield Direct, I was like, I don't know, man. That could be Game of the Year. Did you bring this same level of skepticism and negativity and it's probably fake and it's not real, but then you're going to say Fable was gameplay? Like, be consistent. Be consistent. No Man's Sky showed a lot higher graphics and more content before release from what I recall. If you're talking about the trailers, I was talking about the gameplay showcase with Sean Murray, not cinematic trailers. Sean Murray was main stage with PlayStation. It was the most ho-hum showcase I've ever seen in my life. We went back and looked. It was clear they turned down graphics for that showcase because he didn't want it to crash. The point that I'm making is, why are you assuming that everyone's an Xbox guy if we're skeptical? Because the PlayStation fans didn't praise the showcase? None of us that enjoy our PlayStation 5 praised the PlayStation Showcase and said, oh, it was amazing. Amazing showcases. Now, okay, Spider-Man 2. That's fair. All you guys that love the Spider-Man 2 gameplay, did you bring that level of skepticism for Spider-Man 2? Is it real? Is it fake? Are they messing with us? I don't know if it's going to look that good. No, you didn't do that. You just trust it's going to be awesome. Now, some of that's because it's Insomniac and they have a history and it's a sequel. It's not a brand new IP. But the people here that like PlayStation 5 did not find the PlayStation Showcase to be enjoyable. So it's not like they watched that showcase, walked away from it and said, amazing showcase, great gameplay, like the Xbox fans are doing with the Xbox Showcase. That Fable gameplay was awesome. It wasn't frickin' gameplay. Why aren't you skeptical about that game with no release date, by the way, no release window? Where's your skepticism for Fable? Playground Games making an RPG. Where's your skepticism there? That's my point. I'm also seeing people in my chat who geeked out over the Xbox Showcase and came in today and immediately injected console tribalism into the discussion and started bragging about Starfield or started, touting what Xbox did. And then you want to poo-poo Star Wars Outlaws and be like, nah, that's probably fake. You'll drink up in-engine footage and call it gameplay, but an uninterrupted gameplay showcase like this, well, you're skeptical of this. That really makes sense. Drink up the Kool-Aid. Oh yeah, Fable gameplay, and then you watch this and you're like, I don't know. They might be lying. People have been skeptical about Fable nonstop online. I mean, I had people in here this morning saying it was gameplay. I saw people that write and represent major game news outlets calling it gameplay. That's not skepticism. That's miscategorization. That's a lie. You're lying to the public. It's not gameplay. Yeah, I was bummed when I saw Pragmata was delayed. I was really excited to see some more gameplay of Pragmata, but man, when they said they had to delay it again, I got super bummed. That game looks really, really neat. It really does. Listen, if you're skeptical of Fable, and you're skeptical of Hellblade, and you're skeptical of Star Wars Outlaws, at least you're consistent. At least you're consistent. But if you watch Hellblade 2 trailer and Fable and Clockwork Revolution, you're like, those games are going to be sick. And then you see an uninterrupted, no cuts, no edits gameplay showcase of Star Wars Outlaws, and you go, I don't know if this is real or not. You suspect. That's inconsistent. That's not intellectually credible. I don't think Outlaws is lying, but I also don't take the initial showcase of gameplay as an end-all be-all. My initial impressions aren't high personally, but I don't think the game itself will be bad. That's totally fine. Like, that's measured and thoughtful, Gilly. I'm talking about people that are like basically saying that this might be fake and, well, when it comes out, it's not going to look this good. And it's like, come on, man. Did you have that same attitude about again, 338 game announcements, trailers, gameplay reveals? Have you had that same skepticism through 7 to 8 showcases? Could Outlaws have been running on a 4090? As far as we can tell, I think that didn't they showcase this on a PlayStation 5, did they not? Well, I mean, they didn't say with a PlayStation 5, but don't they show PlayStation button prompts? They have L1, R1, and back here at the beginning. Hang on, she's already done it. I don't remember the button. The button prompts when she gets out her blaster, I think, are there. If they're not here, I know there's button prompts when she gets out her blaster. Now that could be Xbox or PlayStation. Yeah, we need to go to the spot where she gets her gun out. Yeah, this PlayStation controller. Yeah, right here. Square, X, circle. So this showcase is hinting that it's PlayStation. Right. Oh, it could be a PlayStation controller on a PC. Sure. They show all these games on PC. Right, but even on a PC, it could be running on a PS5 dev kit, which they, like, again, that doesn't mean it's going to run this smooth on my PS5. I will readily admit that. I'm not talking about performance. I'm talking about this is generally what the game is going to look like. I'm not seeing anything in this trailer that's seemingly impossible. Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't see anything in this trailer that's like blowing me away. Like, oh my gosh, how is that possible? It looks like a next-gen game to me. Surely it's probably on a PC, which means some of the lighting and stuff might be turned up a bit. But again, PlayStation 5 has games that run at this fidelity. You can go play games right now that look like this. There's nothing in this trailer that's blowing my hair back. It's at the graphical fidelity of Horizon Forbidden West. She gets out in the open world. I don't see anything in this game that seems like, oh, there's no way that's possible on a console. It looks like a very solid next-gen game. You can look at the textures, you can look at the lighting, you can look at the way that just with the way the camera moves and the frame rate. It's like, oh yeah, this looks pretty reasonable. This doesn't look like something that seems impossible. Like the first Hellblade 2 showcase seemed a little bit too good to be true. The problem is I don't trust Ubisoft. Did you not watch Starfield? It's impossible. Yeah, I don't see anything here outside the reach of like Jedi Survivor or Horizon Forbidden West. That might have even been a screen tear right there. No, that was just YouTube being bad. Yeah, like the world here, the density, the movement of the plants and stuff, the lighting, the texture on the ground, none of this seems out of reach of the Series X or the PS5. This seems totally doable. The only thing I'll say right here, the road and the number of rocks on the road, I will say that feels like something you would tone down on the console. Like, look how many rocks are on the road, in addition to the ground texture and the foliage and all the moving plant life and the draw distance, right? This feels a little too dense for console. Right? I feel like you'd smooth out that road. Like over here, it feels like more like a traditional road in a video game where, you know, they're not going to have a ton of objects out there because it's going to cause issues. And then, you know, we saw Pop-In. We already found a location with Pop-In. So this is I don't see anything in here that tells me, oh man, they had to use a supercomputer from NASA to get this thing to run. I'm not seeing evidence of that. I'm not. Enjoy this or Pico and soon. Give me 1 second here. Wait, no. That is a premiere today. Let me be clear about something. You are allowed to be skeptical. You are allowed to think that there's no way this footage is real, as long as you keep that same energy with everything that you saw. If you came away from the Xbox showcase drooling on yourself about the stuff that you saw, whether it's Fable or Hellblade, or you came away from the PlayStation showcase doing that, or you came away from any of those showcases being like, oh my gosh, it's going to be amazing. Oh my, it's some best games ever. And then you see this Star Wars game, it just makes me very suspicious. Like, why are you so quick to denigrate this? Are you like, running some sort of anti-Ubisoft narrative, like, yeah, their games just keep coming out, and they're trash at launch, they don't look anything like that. Okay, well, Assassin's Creed Origins and Odyssey and Valhalla all launched and looked like they did from the marketing, so we're not going to give them credit for those. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, you know, we can't keep invoking these ancient games, or not ancient, but we can't keep invoking everything from the past and being like, well, surely none of these games can be good now because Ubisoft has games like Watch Dogs in their past. Watch Dogs 2 was actually quite good, if my memory is correct. Watch Dogs 2 was quite good. Keep that same energy. Because of Redfall, the next 14 years is doomed. Right. Like, no, everybody wants to hand wave Redfall. Quit bringing up Redfall. And it's like, okay, quit bringing up Watch Dogs. Jiminy Christmas. You know what I'm saying? All right. Noon, calm, 2 minutes, save. And save. Watch Dogs 2 and Legion. Watch Dogs Legion was disappointing. I feel like Legion got mixed reviews. I remember Watch Dogs 2 being generally celebrated as like a decent game where people were like, oh, this is actually pretty fun. I remember enjoying it. I mean, obviously I was goofing around in it and not really taking it serious. You know. Okay. You guys have 6 minutes if you want to try to hit 50 members. I have something really, really special today that I need you guys to help me with, okay? I have something really special that I need your help with. This will open up other opportunities, all right? Other YouTubers struggle with this. I really don't think we're going to struggle with this because you guys are generally super awesome and you get behind the things that we do here, all right? I got sent, you can see it back there in the background. It's sitting up there. I have not got to test out the games yet, but I got to unbox the Pico 4. I will be reviewing some games for the Pico 4 and then reviewing the Pico 4 itself. So we have videos coming where I will get to do that, all right? So today, I have a very short premiere going up in 5 minutes that I'm going to send you guys to. And when I do that, I need everybody to pile in really quickly and hit the like button and support the video, all right? That's a huge way to support me and the channel. A lot of times people get like a thing like this. They get sent a game or a code or an item and everybody bails. They're like, yeah, I don't want to see that, okay? You know me. If I think something is not so hot or not so great, I will be honest with you. So when I review the games of the Pico 4, you will get honesty from me, right? I'm not going to trash it, but the Pico 4 is a standalone unit. It's a standalone all-in-one unit. It's gotten good reviews. PC Gamer gave it a 90, all right? They gave it a 90. And if you want to buy it, it comes in at, I'm looking at it on Amazon right now. There's a 128 gig and a 256 gig, and Amazon doesn't have any in stock. Can you guys, like, I just want a price for this thing. Continue. Nobody seems, okay. $339. It looks like it's going to land in the 350s. Accept all cookies. If you convert this currency to US. So if you guys want to hit 50 members, you got to hurry up and do it. It's around $400 US, it looks like. Around $400 to $450 US. Pico 4. So if you want to get a look at it, we're going to be heading to that premiere in just a moment, okay? Smash like on this video, on this stream. It's about to end. I am then going to hang out with members, okay? I'm going to hang out with members. So if you want to debrief on today, on the nonsense, on the silliness, on the games, on Summer Game Fest, on all of the things that have transpired, stick around and don't go anywhere. I'm going to put a link in the chat, and then I will redirect you guys to the Pico video in about 3 minutes. If you want to do a final mad dash for 50 members, I will gift the 5 members that I currently owe you in the Pico premiere. I give you up until the very, very last minute to gift members. That's why we do it in the premiere, right? So you're all the way to the last minute, have an opportunity to hit 50 to become a member. If you go over to the premiere, you're leaving comments, you're hitting like, you're talking in the chat, YouTube increases the likelihood that you'll get it gifted. So engagement with the channel is how you get gifted members. Wonder if anything new gets spoken about in the Extended Xbox Showcase. We covered it last year, and sadly, nothing new came out. It was just extended interviews about. It was all stuff that we already knew, basically. The problem is we're super plugged in, and we kind of already know everything. And DK Bager's going to poke the chat. He's going to poke the member count up to 34. So generous. DK Bager, always doing these little singles all throughout the day. It's super generous. True King Gaming was here contributing to the conversation today, and he snags a gifted membership, so you can come to the end of the day members only debrief. Thank you so much for that. Guys, thanks for a great discussion. It got lively. I obviously don't agree with everybody's takes and outlook, but that's what makes this stream so fun. That's what makes this community so fun. Maybe today, if you've never really hit subscribe, maybe you'll come back, hit subscribe, hit the bell button. I think very clearly you saw today that we can have disagreements, and I'm not going to ban people for disagreeing with me. I think we got a great stream today and a great conversation. We don't have to see eye to eye on everything. That makes the discussions a whole lot more enjoyable. So make sure you've hit subscribe. Make sure you've hit the bell button. Those are things that help out the stream. Those are things that help out the channel. It ensures that you don't miss the content, right? I'm going to put a link in chat. You guys can click the link. And don't do what a bunch of other people just did. As soon as you start talking about a video like with a product or whatever, people literally bail. Don't do that to the YouTubers that you support, man. If they put out a piece of content saying, hey, I unboxed these pair of headphones, man, take a second to watch the video, all right? You're helping them out. You're helping them do what they do. You guys know I will never blow smoke about a product, all right? There is a link in chat. You can press that link. Head over to this video and just obliterate it with likes. Let's help this thing shoot out of a cannon. I will also redirect you, and then I will hang out with members. I'll see you over there in the chat. I'm going to gift 5 members when we get over there.